Powwow, Texas.
Oh. Very special guest in the building, Sister Mia, gardening up in this piece. She is our agriculture expert. Y'all gonna be learning today. Y'all gonna get your hands dirty.
How you doing? Beautiful experience. You already know it. I am learning. I'm being educated as well as educated. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4.
What's this about this tribal township? What do y'all? We gave y'all the authority to do that. They don't have the authority to audit or tax foreign income. You get everything back that you once had. You had your own jurisdiction before this.
The indigenous cosmology or aboriginal cosmology, all those aspects of yourself to be functional. Because you're not functional, how you gonna be functional when you dealing with other people? When you're dealing with groups or trying to be compatible with people. You don't want to be a dysfunctional person. And you got these other cards around it, and everything means something.
I said, if you're a national Aboriginal Republic of North America, make some noise. You don't want it with honor. Aboriginal North America. How out with the sheep? How out with the sheep? How out. Getting murdered and captured now. They tell us we black, but we ain't. Aboriginal, native. Yeah, we gon' die every day. Cause we don't know what we can. Yeah. The breath is the medicine. Building lungs all the way up.
They bind to each other to become more intelligent. Keep that point as I'm talking to you. That's important. They bind together to become more intelligent. That means people who don't like to bond are less intelligent. Automatically, because that's a law of nature. People who want to be independent and do things without cooperating with others, they're automatically exhibiting low or no intelligence. I get the least amount of help with, especially the brothers. We're also focusing on building local jurisdictions with families that are a part of it so that we can protect our nationals locally.
All right. Peace, family. How y'all doing today? I know y'all in the building. I know class is late. We're gonna get there on time though one day. But peace, everybody up in the building. Show some love to the people. Yo, peace. Peace, family, peace. Peace. Let's see, those on IG, peace, family. We're gonna go in on issues with CPS and what is the actual remedy. So there's a lot of things that play into this that continues to separate families from their children. And it's a really serious problem. And so it just requires a level of planning and execution, and as well as having your tribal status or your Aboriginal status in effect, right? So, oh, peace, peace, brother. I know you up in the building. Peace, God, peace. So I'm going to be sharing some slides, and we're just going to be kind of talking through certain things that maybe you are aware of or maybe you're not aware of, right? So let me see if I can pull up my screen, y'all. Oh, peace, peace, family. You up in the building? Yo, if you all are ready for an investment as well, we also have something that I'm going to talk about towards the end as well. Let me make sure that my screen is all working. So I'm going to pull up this screen. Also, if there's questions y'all having, feel free to ask them today as well, whether it's on this certain topic or if there's other things that maybe you're wondering about as a national within ARNA, and just any other questions, maybe like fundamentally if you need some help with, right? So this is what we are providing a space for as well. So let me get this share on my screen. All right. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit technical, but just stick with me. Again, those are on IG. You can go to YouTube and you'll see what exactly it is I'm sharing on my screen and I'm talking about. All right. So as y'all know, we ain't going to do too much though. So we're going to talk about the CPS issue and tribal governments and nationality as the remedy, right? And we're also going to talk about emergency and hospital protocols. So for those who may be in Region 6, we talked about this before, but for those who may not be aware of like what are certain protocols that you can do. And again, it's better if you actually belong to an indigenous government that you actually have your nationality, right? So keep that in mind. And also, like I told you, we're going to be talking about investment, I guess, opportunities I think are worth looking into and doing some homework on. Again, because things is getting a little wonky. You need to have things kind of working on your behalf so you're not the only thing that's working, right? So we'll talk about something I think that's worth looking into. Obviously, we talked about the powwow. Come through on the powwow. So the powwow is going to be April 19th through the 21st. Obviously, we got the summit every year as well. The Aboriginal Summit, August 23rd. I'm assuming it's going to be that time frame, August the 23rd through the 25th. So get ready for that. Also, there is a spring equinox event being put together by Sister Lazakia on March 23rd. And I think there's going to be more events as well. So just kind of stay tuned for that. And then also, if you haven't done or signed up for the healthcare plan, be sure to do so. Be sure to do so, y'all. I don't know anybody else that's actually bringing solid remedies, right? So, anywho, let's get, hold on, make sure I'm good over here. All right, cool. So, y'all remember this image. Y'all know I like talking about this image. I use this as a point of reference, right? And it's specific. Am I on the right? Yeah, I'm on the right thing. Yes, specifically because we have people who are, all they know is fun. They don't know how to prepare. They're not preparing. They're not doing anything to get themselves. They're just like playing. And then you got people who are risk taking, like they're expanding, they're researching, they're actually doing the homework, right? You got people feeling neglected, scared, and confused, right? Because they didn't do anything or they didn't get questions answered or whatever the case is, issues, whatever. And they sit here in neglect land. And then you got people who are so far gone, they start doing sovereign citizen stuff. They start injuring the other people along with themselves, and they get lost and wiped out in the waves. So we want you here, pioneering, but also having fun, right? So with that being said, the thing that we want to make sure that everybody's aware of is that you need to be preparing. Get your house in order. Literally get your house in order. If your house is not in order, folks, y'all about to be in trouble. I don't know if y'all been seeing some of the stuff that's been going around. Federal Reserve's talking like, we don't know if we gonna cut interest rates or not. Man, they ain't got no other choice but to. But we'll see. I don't know. But companies are laying off folks. Folks are getting fired. You all need to be working multiple businesses. You should be working from sunrise to sunset. Like there should be no yo, you right? Yeah, she wave up in the building, right? But there's no reason why y'all should not be working, like, and working on your business, doing something. Like, you should not be chilling. This is not the season to chill. This is the season to be working, like, really, really hard, in the sense of getting your affairs in order, having your economic resources on deck, having your food resources on deck, having emergency energy on deck. All those things need to be on deck. Like, no exaggeration. And again, for those who are on IG, again, you can see some of the slides on you can see the slides on YouTube. So I just wanted to mention those things before I go into the actual topic. So hopefully that makes sense, y'all. Okay, so the CPS issue, y'all. Child protection. The history was it started in New York. Coincidence, right? And it was to protect a 3-year-old daughter who was getting assaulted, right? As a slave. And so a non-governmental charitable society began by forming, I forget what they call it. Yeah, the NYSPCC, New York Society Prevention of Cruelty of Children. All right. And as you know that history, right? Prior to that, as the federal government played a significant role, Washington, D.C., obviously, in funding this operation, right? But not until the Social Security Administration actually got involved, right? So now that they're underneath SSA, that's how they're going to get the money. The intent, remember, y'all, was to protect the babies. That was supposed to be the intent, right? Keep in mind, I'm just quick history. Now, an explosion of child abuse started to take place in the 1960s. But specifically, how they were classifying it was in medical schools, medical facilities, medical and housing with parental housing, medical hospitals and stuff like that. All that stuff was taking place, but medical schools did not know how to actually handle it. That's what they said. So they put the Social Security Act of 1962 in place to actually put Child Protective Services as a public governmental service, right? Welfare, public welfare, right? Because they started seeing an issue of child abuse. Yeah, that's what they said, right? So remember the intent. I'm just walking through the history. But before I go there, there's a reason why I'm saying all this. And this is happening, this started all in New York. Now, if their real concern was protection of children or just making sure the security of children was a priority, let me pull this up. You have to ask the question, and I'm gonna ask one. I'm gonna share my screen on this, and I just want to know if that was really their mission. Then this should not be happening. I'm about to share my screen. Let me see. I'm going to show y'all exactly what I'm talking about. Let's see. I'm about to see it. What's this, y'all? First of all, what is this man doing coming out of the sewer? Why is this man coming out of the sewer? Now, keep in mind, look who it is, right? All right. Yo, my man popped out of the sewer, right? But what happened was that it was a bust. Human trafficking of children. For something that they were trying to prevent, it is still happening at a rapid rate. I know their goal was to prevent protecting of children, but they don't look, to me, don't look like they're doing a good job, because this is not the first time. That's not the first incidence of this type of stuff happening, is my point, right? So, makes you wonder what is really going on. So I know you're like, Kojo, go to the CPS issue. Yes. Let me get there, y'all. I get distracted. But I had to talk about that, because if this was really an issue that they're trying to solve, then there would be no reason that some of these politicians, some of these big players, some of these people are participating in some of this type of behavior and abusing children and things of that nature, right? I thought the whole point was to protect children from certain environment, when in fact they're only harvesting it internally. And that's how they're stripping children from their families and then shipping them to a whole nother family that is not even going to take care of, right? Or maybe they will. But most of the time, they're just stripping the families and taking the children away and separating them. And the easiest scenario that this usually takes place is at the hospital, where they give your child a birth certificate, because now your child is now a warrant of the state, right? Like, they're literally property of the state. And so you're like, well, but doesn't everybody use a birth certificate? You can, and you should use it to identify. But the way they use it in the United States is to utilize you as human capital for whatever means they are able to do, per the 14th Amendment, right? So that's vital. That's important. That's not going away, right? Let's continue. But the big thing is jurisdiction, y'all. So, and we'll talk about exactly some of the steps to be prepared. But I just had to walk through just quickly the history of what the whole purpose of how it started as a non-governmental agency or charity organization to now it's a governmental agency. And now that it's a governmental agency, there's still problems. And there's major problems. It's actually getting worse. So when you see stuff like that, it makes you go, So like I said, these people are abusing the children. Secretly. I don't think it's a secret, though. Anyway. But we can't forget also the abuse of the elderly as well. That's also important. If the elderly are also being abused and being stripped from the houses, that's also another issue. And that's a subject for another day. But keep that in mind. All right. Here's some data. I want you to pay attention to what they're saying. Racial and ethnical inequality in case outcomes enlarged in some counties. The median total investigation rate was 34.5. The risk for Black, Hispanic, and white children exceeded 10% in all counties. Risk of having CPS investigations were highest for Black children, between 32.9 to 62.8%. Black children also experience high rates of later stage CPS contact, for maltreatment, for foster care placement, termination of parental rights. Like, these are the stages of how you're losing your children. And it's so easy because, again, you don't have your status in order. They're still denationalizing you, calling you Black. What is Black? What is African American? These are colloquial terms to denationalize you. Problem number one, right? So I say to say this is that our people are usually the first to be targeted. And it'd be some of the littlest things that'll get you caught up. And we'll talk about some of those things as well. But I just had to show some statistics, right? That the United States, per CPS's investigation, is showing no other group is having high numbers per their records. Now, anyway. All right. So hopefully y'all follow me. I know this is not like the most exciting thing, but this is very important because, and we'll talk about this. So these are some of the scenarios that make us vulnerable at hospitals. You're like, what is it? But I got to give birth. Well, jurisdiction. The minute you step onto a hospital's facility, you are subject to their jurisdiction. So, what does that mean? If you don't have your status, you're a 14th Amendment citizen, guess what? There's going to be things happen to you that should not happen to you. Let's say you don't want to invoke them giving your child a shot. Well, what you signed a waiver. And so whatever they're telling you need to do, you better do. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have a major problem because they're not about to release you. And they do this all the time to a lot of parents. You know, instead of something being so beautiful, some of them are filling out birth certificates on your behalf. They've already filled it out and sent it without your permission. So you're getting double whammy. So that's the reason. At schools, what do I mean? And you're like, well, I thought the school was okay. Well, no, in the sense of some of y'all are trying to what we would call homeschool, but it should be private schooling, right? When you homeschool, there's certain regulations that they hold you to a certain standard. And if you don't do it, you don't report, since you didn't fix the status and make sure that the status of your child is correct. They come in and they get CPS involved because you're not brainwashing that property to our standard. And that's how people get caught up. They get in trouble. I know this is not the most exciting thing, but this is important. Like I'm telling you. The other thing is economics. Some of us don't have the economics together. So what do? We end up not watching the children properly, and then somebody calls CPS, or we're not feeding them properly, and so malnourishment. So this is all the things that add up. Again, neglecting, we're not being present because we may have to work or whatever the case is. Guardianship issues. Somebody thinks you're not doing a good job as a parent, and so they try to step in and they call CPS on you saying that you're not raising the child well. Right? These are all the things. What is that? Okay, yeah, that's cool. False reporting that happens. And then the biggest thing that is really the issue is just failure to nationalize your child into a tribal government. Period. Right? You're like, what? Just stick with me. Right? So the CPS legal issue. CPS workers and their agencies are generally protected by qualified immunity. Here, you see that? Right? Under CB, which is the Children's Bureau, which is under the Department of Human Services, CPS, all that stuff, right? They have qualified immunity. What does that mean? That means usually you can't sue them if there's an issue. What? You can't sue them? Yeah, you can sue, but it's going to be a hard case to prove because they're like, oh, well, we had probable cause to do that to you. Yo, peace. You up in the building. That's all they're gonna do. They're like, yeah, we had probable cause to call to be invoked in your situation. We got notes. So these are some of the things that you need to be aware of, right? All right. Now here's the big thing. Here is the real legal issue. When they remove the child from parents' custody, this violates the 14th Amendment, right? Now, again, remember, your 14th Amendment, you're like, well, yeah, well, shouldn't I just stay a 14th Amendment? I don't think so. But it says, unless the removal is authorized by a court, typically warrant, or supported by reasonable cause to believe that the child is in immediate danger or serious injury, and the scope of intrusion does not extend beyond that which is reasonably necessary, a court order was obtained through judicial deception. So even if a court order is granted, it's still a violation because it was obtained through judicial deception is what is really happening. So sometimes you'll see people misrepresenting the facts, reporting CPS to getting involved, and then you get in trouble and then you lose your parental guardianship. That happens all the time. So in most cases, CPS is violating the 14th Amendment, right? So you wouldn't even want to be a 14th Amendment as a citizen, right? That status you don't want to be under. Just that's a second-class citizenship. And lawyers and everybody in the court system knows this. Period. So I know this is not sexy, but this is the truth, y'all. All right. Now here's something that I just if the child's residence, right, is on the reservation, or if the child has been made a ward of the tribal court has exclusive jurisdiction, except when jurisdiction is otherwise vested in the state. So why am I even talking about this? Because this is so important. There's a reason why you want to make sure you have your nationality. Your child has their nationality to begin with for protection. Literally, to protect you and your child and your family. Peace. Yo, you up in the building. Peace. So that I bring that up for a specific reason. We'll go into detail. Tribal and state jurisdiction, y'all. Look what it says. This is the only thing I want you to even focus in on, right? If the child's residence, like I said, like I read, this comes from 25 USC 1911, right? They obviously put emergency exceptions, right? Even off reservation. If the child's residence or domicile is not on the reservation, the tribal and state court have concurrent jurisdiction. Even if this circumstance, however, there is no presumption of tribal jurisdiction in cases involving the Indian child. Tribal jurisdiction. Tribal jurisdiction. Tribal jurisdiction. All right. And we'll define what is an Indian child, right? But we'll get there first. So the reason why I'm even bringing up the 14th Amendment, Section 2, right? Representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to the respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state, excluding Indians not taxed, right? What is the most easiest thing is always the last thing done, especially when the final count of the hour and it's important. You're like, Coach, what does all that even mean? Stick with me, y'all. So we pull up the 25 USC 1911 specifically. Look what it says. A, Indian tribe shall have jurisdiction exclusive as to any state over any child custody proceeding involving a child who resides or is domiciled within the reservation of such tribe, except where such jurisdiction is otherwise vested in the state by existing federal law, where an Indian child is a ward of a tribal court. The Indian tribe shall retain exclusive jurisdiction, notwithstanding the resident or domicile of the child. This is so important, y'all. This is so important. Exclusive jurisdiction. So for those who are like, oh, well, doesn't it cost? Look, there is a cost for you as an adult to be a national of a tribal government. But for your child, example within ARNA, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, it's free. Why would that be so hard to even do? Right. All right. And I think the other thing that I want to mention is the United States, every state, every territory or possession of the United States, and every Indian tribe shall give full faith and credit to the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of any Indian tribe applicable to the Indian child custody proceeding, to the same extent that such entities give full faith and credit. This is the full faith and credit when you put entities on notice that your child belongs to a tribe. Some of y'all can't even do that because you haven't even started that process. That's where it's like, oh, was CPS about to get involved? Wait, hold on now. They don't have jurisdiction. Ain't no reason why they should be involved unless the child is a property of the state. Okay. So this is too important, very, very important, right? And if we go to the definition of Indian tribe, per their definition, Indian tribe means any Indian tribe, band, nation, or other organized group. Folks, for those who are like maybe confused in like ARNA, it didn't say federally recognized. It says any Indian tribe, band, nation, or other organized group. Even through in this, or community of Indian recognized as eligible for services provided by Indians by the Secretary because of their status as Indians, including any Alaskan Native village as defined in Section 1602C, Title 43. Folks, there should be no doubt that they've been talking about you, not this fake pseudo status that they denationalized you as black, which is not even nothing in law, right? Holds no weight. African American, right? These things, denationalized terms. So stick with me. ICAA. Jurisdiction is the issue, y'all. That's why I keep saying. Here's some of the things that you need to be doing, right? If we define reservation, provision in a deed which creates a new right or interest for the grantor in the conveyed real property. So if you have real property that's Indian real property, you have a reservation. So that means your house, right? Maybe your townhouse, maybe your hut. I don't know. Some of y'all, I don't know what y'all living in, but you get the point. But you can't do that if you haven't transferred it over to your indigenous business. How can it be your reservation if it's still underneath you as a 14th Amendment citizen? You're not going to get the protections at all. And then your status as a 14th Amendment citizen. Again, your status is not up to where it needs to be politically because they denationalized you. Maybe you are living on somebody else's property. What do I mean? You living in an apartment complex. Now, the apartment complex is, as far as it's concerned, it's an artificial person as a 14th Amendment. It's a 14th Amendment artificial person. So guess what? That opens up the window for whenever CPS cases or domestic violence happens, you know, the police is called, all that stuff. You're not on your Indian reservation per their terms. You're just on a property that is owned by a 14th Amendment artificial person. And that opens up a can of doors, which is why you need to be on your own reservation property that's underneath a tribal jurisdiction. That's going to give you the protections that you need. So, why am I bringing that? Jurisdiction in cases involving an Indian child. Jurisdiction in Indian cases may lie with the state, family courts, or tribal courts. It depends on the child's residence and any transfer request to tribal courts. Right? So states have different rules. California is another one that has their particular rules, and there's other states as well, right? But it says state family law courts usually have jurisdiction unless the child lives on a reservation. Now, if we beat that over the head with the reservation, all it is just conveyed real property. But if you're living on an Indian reservation, which means your property is within a tribal jurisdiction, correctly, they don't have jurisdiction. You have exclusive jurisdiction unless there's an emergency that has been invoked, right? So look what I said. CPS can intervene in emergencies. Big thing is emergencies, y'all. So I know this is like, Kojo, this is so boring. Yo, don't be calling me if you have not done this, right? No, I say that, but like the important thing is that you need to like really pay attention. We won't be long on this subject, but stick with me. So look at this, y'all. Y'all think that they ain't got no money. This is just in Texas, the Department of Human Services. Specifically CPS or CB. This is Administration for Children and Families. Look at that number, bro. 11 million. 11 million. Ain't no salary, ain't no benefits, ain't no personal cost, ain't no goddamn equipment. This is in Texas alone. They got a DUNS number. They got an EIN number. Folks, this is a whole business. Y'all paying them taxes. They collected and they funded. They funding your own demise. All right. So I wanted to point that out. All right. They're like, Kojo, you beat us over the head. I know. The remedy. This is really the remedy, right? Plan. If you don't have a plan, this is how they catch you slipping. It's the most easiest thing to do is plan for what if scenarios. Just in case something happens, you have a plan, right? So, and then when you're doing the science of mating, when you're choosing your mate, use cosmology. When you're planning your children, use cosmology. These things are going to give you the guidance, the tools to be successful, right? And then just understanding the book of you, right? That's what it's saying. I'm saying the same thing using cosmology, right? And then next, make sure that you, your family, and your child are nationals of a real tribal government, meaning they actually claim you and you claim them. You don't know how many times people be pulling up. Hold on, let me stop the screen real quick. Yo, peace. Look, when people tell me, they be like, yo, brother, I'm in court. You know, this is the fine account an hour. And I'm like, okay, you a national? They be like, huh? I'm like, oh, okay. So you're not national of Varna. Okay, great. Okay, so are you part of a like tribal government of anything? And they're like, yeah. I belong to the Cherokee. And I'm like, okay, cool. So do you actually like have like a number with them, like a role, like a tribal ID card, and they're like, what are you talking about? No, I just know I'm indigenous. I'm like, oh, I'm not taking that away. What do they claim you? They're like, claim? I don't need them to claim me. Shoo.
I'm gonna just let y'all stay stupid.
This is very true. They need to claim you. It can't be no self-declared Cherokee. You need to have documentation. This is what catches people slipping. Lack of documentation. Nobody's saying that you're not Cherokee. Nobody's not saying you're not Choctaw, but you need the documentation. If you don't have the documentation, you are in trouble. So you think you want to invoke the IWCA, but you can't even invoke it properly because you don't have your status. You're not on a reservation that's your own or the tribes. So how you really about to invoke this? And your child is not even a part of the tribe. So how is this about to work? All right. Yep. Anyway, let me get back to this. So that's important. So in ARNA, we have what we call a live birth certificate, an affidavit of live birth, right? It costs $20. But as far as the nationality portion for your children under 12 are free in ARNA. So is it really difficult to get that done? It really shouldn't. If you plan properly, you got the doula involved, so you have that. Okay, so if in case you do have to go to the hospital, you're like, all right, we got the doula here, we got our status in check, we got the documentation, we got the paperwork ready. And so in case we do have to go to the hospital, we got everything ready to go in this bag. And we are not about to stay there. Once they do the job, boom, like up, boom, bam, here's the documentation. We are done. We are okay, right? But you need those documentation because that's what's going to properly protect you and your children. That's all that I'm trying to say. I know this is not exciting yet. Okay. The other thing you need to have in place, you need to have a guardianship just in case an emergency happens. What if somebody passes away? What if somebody goes to jail wrongfully? What if something happens? Is there a plan in place for the child to be underneath a proper guardian, not floating into CPS and then they go to foster care and then they get human trafficking? That's what's happened. Human trafficking. And we gotta protect the babies, y'all. This is how they split up and separate families to begin with. Like this is not a game. This is what they're doing. So you need a plan and you need to execute that plan. If you need direction, guidance, all that stuff, like we can help with that. And when you have those things in place, you need to have a will in place, right? So what is a will? In case something happens, you need to do X, Y, Z and execute such and such and such and such. Per the guidelines, per the specifications, this is how the child will be protected. This is where they'll go. This is what they need to do. This is what needs to happen. This is what happens with the money. Some of y'all don't even have life insurance. Don't even get me started on that. I know this is not even about a life insurance discussion, but some of y'all don't even have that. What if something happens? You don't want people to have the burden. If you need help with writing wills, we have jurists on deck that can help you with that, right? I'm not the only one, right? There's other jurists that can do this as well. It's just something that you need to have in place. So really evaluate the will, really evaluate guardianship plan in case of emergency. That's important because you don't know. something could happen. And then boom, you're like, oh, the child is floating. They get sucked into the Department of Human Services. CPS is involved. They like, yep, you going to foster care, baby. And they may be going with a parent, guardians that look polished, look great, fantastic, but they're really abusive. And this is what's happening. I'm not saying that this is every case, but you don't want to take that chance. So anyway, let me not waste so much time. I know y'all like, what? Yeah, I mean, I hope y'all. I know this is not the most exciting thing. I know y'all be like, oh, Kojo, what you do? What you talk about? I'm talking about this because I keep hearing it. Hold on, y'all about to get me on this rant. Y'all don't know. Sometimes when people be coming at the final countdown of the hour, yo, there's not a whole lot we can do. You mean to tell me you in court already? You've already got orders against you, judgments, and you want us to use Arna's arm of extension to get you out or prevent the situation from even happening. That is not even reasonable. And especially we don't know what you did. Like we don't know what you were doing up until then, right? We don't even know if your status was even properly put on notice with them. Anyway, let me not even get started, y'all. I know y'all like, Kojo, get off your rant, sir. All right. So again, as to reiterate, children under 12, free. There ain't no reason why nobody should be doing it. Any jurist can take care of that process with ease. It's not hard. And if you need a certificate of live birth or the affidavit of live birth, that's just $20. It's not a big deal. Some of y'all spend more than that on BS, right? So let me keep it moving, y'all. So y'all get out of here at a reasonable time. Hit that like button if y'all still with me. So hopefully that makes sense on the CPS remedy, right? This is stuff that is so simple that people don't even do. But if you have the plan, you're executing the plan, you're doing the steps you need to do, it'll be okay. I swear it's not complicated. And it gives you the extra protection that you needed. Jurisdiction is the issue. When you're dealing with these people, you don't have your proper status, you're not living on property that's underneath a tribal jurisdiction, your children don't have their correct status, so therefore there's cracks in your whole plan. Some of y'all are like, yeah, I'm about to do this. All right. CPS is about to be knocking on that door. All right, let's move on. Medical emergency protocol. This is very important, right? Everybody should know what the procedure is for emergencies. So if you have an emergency, please remain calm, breathe, and call the hotline, right? There is a hotline number right here for HQ. Call that number. If you're not in Region 6, you're like, oh, I don't know who to call. Who do you call? You call HQ right here. Here's the hotline. But if you're in, let's say you're not in Region 6, or you're in Region 6, you're like, okay, well, I called, but I didn't get anybody. There's another hotline number that you can call right here, right? The whole point is that call the hotline, call a local minister, call a jurist, call somebody that's about to be able to help you successfully navigate what you're going through. Reach out to your tribal medical doctor, if possible. If there is none, then you go find another one, right? The idea is that people need to be credentialed and proficient to be able to navigate you through whatever situation you're about to go into. Because for whatever reason, maybe you had to step into their jurisdiction because of emergency purposes, but that was part of your plan. And you just need to get re-educated or coached on what to do in case XYZ happens, right? And of course, if nobody calls and there's some, life or death, call 911, but understand you already know how to handle that situation, right? Because you've already taken care of your status. All right. I know you're like, oh, Joe, man. All right. Things you need to have prepared before you enter their jurisdiction, y'all. It's very important. Have your medical contraindication for the vaccine and testing notarized. Certificate of live birth in hand. I know times is different. There's different things you need your nationality paperwork on deck, just in case. Even if it's digital, but preferably get a copy, certified copy of it, right? Have those things on hand. Have your tribal medicines with you if you do have some that you take, like herbal compounds. Have that on deck. You never know, right? And then just be prepared to have the numbers of the people you need to call. So whether they're your first primary care tribal doctor, you have their number on deck. You have your local council, your tribal minister number, all that stuff. You need all that stuff just in case you need to call somebody and somebody doesn't pick up. It's a different hour that you're calling and nobody's awake. Somebody may pick up the phone. Read. Why am I spending so much time on reading? Because people be signing things that they don't know that they're signing. They're like, oh yeah, they just say sign right here on the dotted line. You like, oh, okay. Am I losing my rights? Y'all start, you don't even be thinking. You be like, oh, this is an emergency. You don't understand.
You don't know, baby D.
This is how I be
looking
at y'all whenever I be hearing stuff
baby
like
D.
that. Like you be like, Kojo, but you don't understand. I'm like, what? I don't understand. I don't care if it was an emergency or not. Right? Like the idea is that you need to have these things in place. You need to read these things because you don't know what you're waiving. You're signing a waiver for treatment for you and whoever is about to be admitted. That's why I'm spending so much time. And then just make sure somebody is recording, documenting, because you don't know what's about to happen. Sometimes even the act of recording may invoke problems. That's why I said maybe you need to record audio because you don't know what these people are capable of. All right. So the same thing that I keep saying, consent. This is what y'all be doing when y'all step into these things and you sign. You've given consent. Again, this doesn't apply to just children. It applies to elders too. All right. Jurisdiction. Look what it says. What is subject matter jurisdiction? The court's authority to decide the issue on a subject matter. So what is the subject matter jurisdiction of the hospital? They have the authority because you signed a waiver and you came to them. They didn't come to you. You came to them. So for those who are like, oh, well, they ain't got no you came to them. It wasn't the other way around. They didn't come gunpoint and put a gun to your head to say, you need to come to this hospital. You didn't do that. So that's what I'm saying, y'all. All right. Here's a Title IV health facilities. This is very important. I'm about to zoom in on this. Consent form. Consent to medical treatment under this subchapter must be in writing, signed by the person giving consent and given to the doctor, hospital, or medical facility that administers the treatment. Consent must include named child, the name of, what up, y'all? The name of one or both parents, if known, the name of the person giving consent and the relationship to the child, statement of the nature of the medical treatment given, and the date treatment is to begin. This is all what's happening when you sign. Some of y'all are like, man, that was like a one-page, small, tiny document. They crammed all that in there. You're giving consent for them to treat. Folks, y'all be tripping. You need to read. You need to read. So this is that consent form. You're literally giving them consent to do what it is they need to do, even if you don't agree with it. You're like, wait, COVID, that let me not say. Jab shot. Wait, no, I didn't want that. Wait, hold on. What? You're going to give me what medicine? That drug? No, I don't. That's the minute you do that, y'all. They be like, hold on. You say you're not about to do what? Would you mind saying that one more time so I can just like document it? And they just write it on their little board. And they about to go report you. You're not about to accept our treatment for your child that just came into our presence at our facility? Oh yeah, we about to write you up. We about to report your ass to CPS. CPS gets a call. Next thing you know, CPS is at the hospital. They just come in. They say, we heard that you doing neglect. You be like, neglect? What are you talking about? I just said I'm not going to take their medication. Well, per what you signed, you gave consent. You not following the game plan. Why? I got you. All right. Here's the other thing. Remember I was talking about consent to immunization? That's important, y'all. Look what it says. Now, notwithstanding section 3203 and 101, a child may consent to the child's own immunization for a disease if the child is pregnant or is the parent of a child and has actual custody of that child. Folks, this is the game that they play. This is the game that they play. So just keep that in mind, y'all. I know you're like, man, Coach, yo, it's the countdown of the hour. I know. Let me help wrap this up, y'all. You need to use cosmology to help guide and navigate you through some of these scenarios. When you have these things in plan, you can get with whichever cosmologist is your favorite that you want to deal with, that you feel comfortable with, that can give you solid strategy, a solid guidance, direction. So you can prevent a lot of this stuff. So you can plan effectively. So there's no guessing. Right? We got the guy on the line. Yo, what up? Peace, God. So this is important. I know they're like, oh, CPS. This is so boring, bro. I'm like, I know. But it's important. I promise y'all. So, all right. Let me wrap this up. So investing in Sun Village and developing other tribal cities. This is something that's, important. This is stuff that we need to do. I'm telling y'all, I know you're like, well, I don't know. Where do I go? You go to sunvillage.california.org. Okay. All right. Let's talk about this investing opportunity I wanted to just mention. Now, I know a lot of y'all like, how do you qualify some of this stuff? So I'll quickly tell you how something gets qualified. How you want to qualify some investments is you want to look at what is the product or what is the service? What is it that it's solving? Does it solve a major need? Does it actually have a good TAM market, meaning the total amount to market, like as far as like, is it in the millions? Is it in the billions? What is the actual market value that this company is doing, right? That it's solving. And then last, I know some of y'all owe y'all stuff. And then you also need to look at who's the managers or the CEO or who's involved that has started the company. See if they actually have background experience in this. And then lastly, you need to see, do they actually have a real product in hand? And then what's the actual valuation of that company, right? So these are the things I look at, right? So fund homes, vacation rental investing for everybody. So you know how people do like timeshares, right? You're like, man, I'm not trying to do no timeshare. I'm not either, right? But the reason why I'm in mentioning this is because now we're getting into a place where people want to just have vacation homes. Baby boomers. They ready to just go retire, or they want to go travel different places to see different places. And if you have vacation homes that they can rent, that's passive revenue for you, right? So you can invest and buy shares of vacation rentals as easy as like $100, y'all. So here's some examples of what's actually out there, right? This is not the whole website, but there's one that's in Devonport, Florida, right? You can actually buy shares of this rental vacation home and can make some passive revenue from this. Now, they obviously had one that is already capped out or sold out, but the idea is that you can put some money aside and you can get paid. I think it's a monthly revenue from this, right? But again, if you look at like the annual returns when it comes to like S&P, REITs, public bonds, vacation rentals are usually at 12%. Usually. Right? Understand that we're in a interesting time period where there's war, where there's possible new diseases, currency crisis and new, basically de-dollarization. All these things are happening. But big thing is that you can put in as little as $100 and buy shares of a quality vacation property or properties. And then that's income from those homes are generated, and that's guaranteed. You earn any profits from these properties if it is even sold in the future. So if it gets sold, boom, you get profit back from that. So not only are you getting profit from rent, buying interest in shares of this property, but you also can get revenue for when the property does get sold or bought, right? So those are two exit strategies, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Yeah. All snaps. Yeah, you're trip. And then lastly, to just kind of wrap this up, if y'all need to get, you guys need to be nationalized. If you need help with starting indigenous businesses, getting your family and stuff nationalized, we can definitely help you. I'm always going to talk about this. This is important. It's very important. And obviously, just making your health a priority. Very much so. It's important. Schedule a free consultation if you need any assistance with that. We got some new products that we're going to be dropping as well. Some that I think are going to be pretty cool and just kind of fun, right? So on that note, if there's any questions that y'all got regarding maybe your nationalization process, on the CPS stuff, or on the investments, the idea behind why and how I think of choosing in certain investments to participate in. What did you say, guy? You said, if you ain't a national, you ain't rational. Real talk. Yeah, man. I mean, you got to be a national, y'all. Like, I know y'all like Kojo. Like, that it's not, that can't be the remedy. I swear, y'all. Some of the stuff that I've heard and experienced, that be the issue. You're not even a national, but then you're trying to invoke indigenous status and you don't even belong to a tribal government. But then you want Arna to step in and strong arm the court. We ain't about to do that, y'all. We are not. You need to come to us before there's issues. That's what we call preventative maintenance. Right? So anyway, hopefully that makes sense, y'all. I mean, I think this was a really, really issue that needed to be talked about. I didn't want to spend too much time today on it, but I can if people have questions on it. But I think this is important because if you allow the courts, if you allow CPS, if you allow these things to take place, you're going to find yourself having problems. So get your status in order. Make sure your children's status is in order. Make sure your family status is in order. Make sure your properties, businesses, all that stuff is in order. If it's not, you are exposing yourself to certain injuries. If you own somebody else's property, that opens you up, because then what if somebody makes a false claim against you? You're like, well, does that happen anyway? I'd rather be on my own property than somebody else's, right? So hopefully that makes sense, y'all. If not, you could always schedule a consultation. You can get with any jurist on honorgovernment.org, or you go to hawabdfw.org, or you go to shabazassociates.com. Doesn't matter. And I think that's it. If if y'all ain't got questions on IG or on YouTube, y'all, I'm gonna save this video. And again, I think this is really needed because this is a big issue that people just really sleep on. You need to protect your children. They're easy. Like if you haven't seen what they're doing with Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg talking about, oh, he's sorry, he didn't realize that his tool was going to impact children. Man, they know exactly what they're doing. They know they've been selling the information. They've been selling the data, YouTube included, right? All these social media platforms, they know what they're doing exactly to these children. Brainwashing, indoctrinating them, getting them ready for human trafficking or just brainwashing or just abuse. All these things, they're getting them set up for failure. I mean, hey, man, y'all do what y'all want to do, man. But whenever something happens, do not be surprised when it's like, man, why is this difficult? So anyway, family, if there's no questions, y'all sound like y'all got it together. For those who are going to watch this on the replay, feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help. You know, hopefully something was said that was useful that you could utilize and take action, because the idea is just to take action. And yeah, family, we'll see you on the next class, and we'll go from there. Peace, family.